Dear Mr. Stark, I accept the fact that I had to sacrifice my suit for whatever it is I did wrong. I was just trying to help people, and I think you're crazy for thinking taking my suit away is going to stop them. But I get it. You see me as you want to see me, in the simplest terms, the most convenient definitions. Maybe I'm all of those things. A kid, a hero, a high schooler, an Avenger, a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Sincerely yours, Peter Parker.
A John Hughes Spider-Man movie.
Interesting.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider...
Hey guys, we're gonna talk about the movie instead of, making certain jokes about it. So, I thought that we'd start with saying, in one word, what we thought of the movie.
Amazing. Good.
Good. I mean, that's kind of, that sort of, as you'll see, sums up how we both feel about it. But I think we should start with the good things, the things we really liked about the movie, because there are a lot of them, and a lot of them stem from the John Hughes-ish nature of it, and the idea that, he's a high school kid, let's set him in high school, and let's have it be played by someone who looks like they could be in high school, and not a 27-year-old. And
Right.
I think those parts worked really well.
The comparisons between Civil War, because that was incredible too. As you said, the stuff in the school, I loved the cast, I loved the vibe, the tone they were going for. It was fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that's a key word, is fun, which to some of you might scare you, and I would say that's warranted. And to some of you, it would be like, oh, that doesn't scare me, and that's completely warranted too. The whole idea that it's fun is sometimes a cover of, does that mean it's not a good movie, or does that, compliment that it actually is a good movie? And I think we both kind of differ in how we feel about that. I think we should just kind of start with some constructive criticism. All right, the biggest thing is that I feel like what the film is lacking is, I got what I expected in regards to the balancing the personal life with the Spider-Man life. It takes big chunks of Spidey scenes and Peter Parker scenes and puts them next to each other with very little consequence outside of what's happening in the actual scene. I'll give a perfect example, and by the way, in case you guys didn't notice, spoilers, when he goes to Liz's party, he was invited there because his friend Ned blurted out that he was Spider-Man, which you've all seen in the trailer that he finds out.
You're the Spider-Man from YouTube.
When he goes there, things are kind of happening. Flash is kind of being a little bit of a jerk.
DJ Flash.
And DJ Flash is being a little bit of a jerk, and he goes there, debates whether or not to be Spider-Man, and then kind of sees some purple flames in the distance, and is like, oh, let me go investigate that. So there's no referencing to the party in terms of, oh, I gotta get back, or a sense of urgency there. It's sort of like, everything like that is very separate. And when they do those kinds of things, it does work out well. You have MJ, who's a little bit of the, you find out that her name is MJ.
Robin.
Michelle, who is, sort of this smart-mouthed cynic that's kind of always there cracking wise, and Ned, who's the geeky best friend. Flash, who's kind of, like, he's a bully, but he's not the popular jock bully, and then,
Right.
Liz, the one he likes. It's still very basic characters. It complements the high school bits really well. Peter Parker is a high school kid. He's going to behave like a high school kid, want to become an Avenger, and that
Happy.
core, happy, exactly.
I did enjoy the party scene. I liked him looking out into the party without the mask on, who he wants to be but who he couldn't be. My problems with the film are that it's kind of routine, even though it's not generic. It just feels like some scenes are better than others. Like, for example, Monument scene I thought was really intense, had a sense of urgency. While the most promoted scene was the ferry scene, I didn't really enjoy it too much, I think it could have been better.
One negative I definitely have, it's kind of both a positive and a negative, is the villain. Because the villain is very good. Michael Keaton plays an amazing Vulture, and I think the idea of someone who's been, his job was taken away by, the higher-ups because he was cleaning up after the Avengers of Avengers, and that's how he was making his money, and then he had to sort of illegally do that in order to support his family. It was kind of like a whole Sandman. The problem I had with that is they were trying to create some sort of social commentary that I think they went an insanely safe route with, because there wasn't too much of the Vulture, because they tried to go a lot with Peter Parker and the high school stuff, which was a good route to take, but I feel like you kind of lose a little bit, which I admire, but number one, it's not John Hughes, so it's almost like, at parts, like, okay, it's clearly trying to be a John Hughes version of Spider-Man when it's not, but also, just going throughout the daily routine and kind of la-di-da, it's a Spider-Man movie. You do need to have plot happening, are fun parts, and the sequences and the movie as a whole is still a very good movie. It's just, I expected more than just another MCU movie, which is what it kind of seemed like.
What I got away from it was that each act, there are good and bad things about it, but I had way too much fun. The way I saw it, the first act, it had the amazing short film by Peter Parker. Everything with the new suit was fantastic. And then the second act, slow scene, maybe like the All Is Lost moment, I was like, he's kind of just like, without the suit, you know.
Actually, can we talk about the suit for a second?
Yeah.
That suit is actually one of the few things that actually tracks throughout the film to its advantage and disadvantage, because the suit is very high-tech.
Good evening, Peter. You have 576 possible web shooter combinations.
That is awesome.
It was made by Tony Stark.
Which I like. I love
You get
that,
different aspects of the different web combinations. You get his, his AI, the Karen, who I love. It's kind of, you could argue it's a ripoff of Jarvis, but
I don't think
like
it's an
the
Iron
connection.
Man suit. I think it's a Spider-Man suit that, even though he invented it, it feels different than Iron Man.
Yeah, I definitely like that. If you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. However, that's where my pros for the suit actually start to go down, because after he loses the suit, there's no either sense of relief of the responsibility or I want the suit back until the end, where he kind of duels
with him in his old
himself.
suit.
And I can't help comparing to Spider-Man 2, which is my personal, and I think your personal
one of my favorite movies of all
Spider-Man
time,
movies. And that's sort of a big problem with the emotional impact of the climax, when, of course, you have the big fight with the Vulture, where the suit both benefits and is a disadvantage to the story as well.
I know one of my favorite scenes, he is trying to get himself up from the rubble, and he's finding out who he is underneath the suit.
Yeah, that was
I love that scene. But
that was a scene that I think I wanted to love, but it didn't feel earned with how the rest of the story was going, because the first half is very much where's the story going, and until we get to the twist, it turns out that
Michael Keaton,
because you're so distracted by certain things, and like we said in our Wonder Woman,
so cool,
with Ares, you don't necessarily see it coming, and it's a twist that actually means something, and it's where
that was a great tension sequence.
Yes,
in
and
the car.
The irony of, oh look, it's the classic scene of father holding the shotgun to the guy who's going to ask his daughter out, but it takes on a new meaning when two of them are in the car, and it's the Vulture and Spider-Man talking, but also the father, protective father over the daughter.
Look at the title itself. They don't really build on Homecoming, and they put it in your face, like there's banners and posters cover the clock and everything, but the Homecoming dance itself, I think they deleted. There's a couple deleted scenes, because I think he just left.
Yeah, they were definitely at Homecoming for a longer period of time.
Ned being the guy in the chair, but Liz was like,
yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Mary Jane stereotype in Spider-Man 1 and 2 than have just kind of Liz be kind of like whatever. Because even though it actually does work, there are certain plot holes with trying to be like, these aren't stereotypes, they're like real kids, they're too cool for school. Because one thing I noticed, this is going to be very specific, but
it wasn't like the guys in the first Spider-Man.
Yeah, and here's the thing, with Flash, the reason why I think the whole bully element kind of fell to the wayside is because, number one, he's also a geek. Which, not that can't be a thing, because that's very realistic. No, that's a good thing I like. But here's the problem. He's not athletic, he's not a jock, he's not even the best at what he does. If anything, he's ridiculed. He doesn't have anything special or unique about him that would make Peter really bothered and really make other kids kind of behind Flash and be like,
I don't mind the casting choices because it's different. Even the first two reboots, they had the typical...
When you have something as stereotypical as the original Spider-Man movies, they may be stereotypical, but they're effective. Here, there's not a lot of tension between the alter ego of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because the fact that he's always disappearing to be Spider-Man, no one gives a crap. And that's the problem. When no one gives a crap about that, it kind of diminishes the meaning of like, oh, I'm trying to hide this fact. I mean, the hiding it from Aunt May, that stuff works.
Even from Aunt May, But
you know,
again, she's not in it that much, and all that
Exactly,
half of the
yeah.
time that she's in, it's like, oh, she's hot. I'm giving you like rice pudding. It's like,
yeah, and I feel
okay.
like they were going the route of, oh, you know, he's in high school, so we can have different things happen. It's like, yes, but you still have to have a common thread and a common.
But one of the
theme
better
of,
scenes
you
is
know,
when he's saying, "I lost a Stark internship," and it's like, "Where have you been?" You know, and then he breaks down in front of
yeah,
her.
like first Spider-Man movie. How does he deal with his powers? Is he going to be able to accept his responsibility? Is he going to be able to avenge his Uncle Ben?
Yeah.
Second movie, dealing with
who he is underneath.
He is
this-
underneath.
yeah.
Who he is as Peter Parker.
And he
dueling
can't juggle the
identities.
life, yeah.
Even Spider-Man 3, dealing with a dark side of...
Yeah.
not the dark side, not Peter Parker versus Spider-Man, Spider-Man versus
His alter
Dark
ego,
Spider-Man,
yeah.
and Peter Parker versus Dark Peter Parker. Here, you didn't have that very set, grounded theme.
Yeah.
There were themes, plural, but they weren't exactly that developed. If we could skip ahead to the ending, because that's actually something that I really
Yeah.
want to talk about, because I thought it was dynamic, but not as dynamic as it could have been. Why would you crash land on Coney Island on the beach and not go to the amusement park and have this awesome fight? I think there were missed opportunities with that for the sake of having an emotional connection.
I love Michael
Oh, yeah.
Keaton, but the villains, I feel like they're trying to be like Amazing Spider-Man. It's like, oh, here's Shocker. Oh, here's Scorpion with the tattoo. I'm like, okay, this better come into play because Shocker, the first one just died. And then the second one is like, oh, just take on the ring of the Shocker. I'm like, all he has
Oh,
is like
you
the
mean his
sleeves.
henchman?
And then he has the shocking
Oh,
ability,
yeah.
but it's like, all we have is Vulture, the main villain, but okay, whatever. When he picked Spider-Man up for the first time, you felt it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that is my biggest thing. You felt the weight when he first picked up Spider-Man and dropped him, and
And then
Stark
even
saves
at
him.
the end, with the end fight, when he was like clawing,
You feel the
ooh.
pain, but the thing is, though,
Yeah.
because you don't see Michael Keaton's face, you don't see
Yeah,
the emotion.
sure.
Oh, I'm willing to kill this 15-year-old kid to do it. After all this damage, after his position's been given away anyway, he's already at risk. So why, if he's supposed to be sympathetic, would you then...
But I don't mind him
Get
trying to
him to
attack
kill
a kid
Peter,
because
you know.
he told him he's gonna, do whatever it takes to, save his family.
I suppose
But
so, yeah.
But just scenes I love and scenes I kind of didn't love, like the whole scene where he got the concussion and then he was with Kara in that little warehouse talking about his ability. Where's this going, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. This movie had great ideas, but the problem was because it had to operate within the MCU, and because, with the exception of Civil War, it falls into a very bad trope of many recent Marvel movies, at least for me, as in like playing it very safe.
It's one of the
This movie,
funner films. But
it is more one of the more fun films, but it has good ideas. But the problem is when you take 15-20 minutes to have him just practicing using his powers, you're only accomplishing one thing in a long
Yeah,
period of time where it's like,
that's true.
okay, you need to fill
There's
the
not
ti-
much else going on
you
behind
need,
the
you need
surface.
to
yeah.
fill the runtime where you need to find the tension and the consequences
Yeah.
of high school versus actually being Spider-Man and balance it out, in my opinion, just better. This movie didn't have a clear through line, and the whole concept was he's a high school kid, but he's also Spider-Man. Then you have to drill back and forth. There are things that you could do with the story that they just didn't do because they wanted to play it in chunks and focus on
That's
the
true.
individual scenes, which is fine, but when you do that without operating on what's the movie as a whole, all you have is a collection of scenes that either pass or fail.
I really like 75% of the movie. For every two
Mm-hmm.
great scenes, there's one okay scene that follows.
You liked it more than I did. I enjoyed
I give
it.
it
I
an A
enjoyed.
minus, yeah.
I enjoyed all of it. Thought there were 65% of moments were actually really good. Problem was the overarching issues was what was dragging me down. Thinking about it afterward, that makes me be like, maybe once was enough in terms of seeing it.
I was just
You
glad
know?
to see him in an MCU movie among, like, Cap showing up with the gym.
You're probably gonna like this film. I don't know about. It depends on how pure of a Spider-Man fan you are.
I just had way too much fun, and I liked it. I did like it better than the first Spider-Man movie, even though I think that the first movie is a better made movie.
I would say go see it in the theaters, maybe not wait on long lines for it. For me personally, I'd probably say accept it as a gift as part of your Marvel collection, though I wouldn't personally buy it.
I have to disagree. I think it's full price all the way. See it, at a good full price evening Friday night showing, and I think you have a blast, because I know I sure did.
Honestly, I think that sums up a lot of our positives and negatives, and it's kind of just the movie as a whole. The more different the opinion, the more interesting this movie gets. As usual, thank you guys for watching. Before you see a movie, check in with us first. Thanks.